TripleA-reno Home Show. I have the pleasure today of sitting here together with Carsten Rothballer from ICLEI. Hi, Carsten.
Hello.
Hi. So Carsten works since 2009 at ICLEI. So ICLEI is a local government for sustainability as a global network of more 1,750 local and regional governments committed to sustainable and urban development. So ICLEI Europe is based in Europe, but ICLEI is present in also in North Africa, Middle East, and West Asia, with an extended peer network for international members for sustaining local sustainability issues and transition. Specifically, Carsten works at ICLEI Europe since 2009, and he's focusing on addressing climate policy issues with project experience in training, energy planning, integrated management, resilience and risk assessment, specifically supporting local governments in Germany as well Europe in the development of, for instance, sustainable energy action plans and smart city solutions. So we decided to have this series of interviews because specifically with ICLEI, as one of our umbrella association, we aim to organize this roadshow. So meeting with the municipalities that are represented by ICLEI, but of course, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, we realized that this was not possible. So we decided to switch instead to this home show version. So getting into the homes of our partners and talking about them, talking with them about their visions, specifically related to their roles and what their organizations are doing in a specific topic of home renovations in Europe. So, Carsten, how does your home working space look like during this COVID-19 lockdown times?
Yeah, thank you, Simona. I'm here since I believe now 5 weeks in working from home. Home office means for me I'm in a 3 square meter room with some books, a plant, a window, so natural light, but also calmness with my family, which includes 3 children. So I'm quite comfortable here, also close to them, but also close to my work. And that are my working conditions at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like a cozy nest.
Yes.
So yeah, and we are glad that we can have a space of quietness in this confusion and these very hectic times. Indeed, this current situation has given many of us more time to reflect, right, about ourselves, as well as the world we're living in, which is like dramatically changing. But when, and hopefully very soon, we will re-emerge from this lockdown situation, what do you think will be different in the way we as citizens, we live our cities?
Yeah, I believe there are several points that are important, and there are others, but let me mention just some. I believe that we can see, comparing the different countries, but looking, for instance, I myself situated in southern Germany, which is one of the most exposed areas as well, in Baden-Württemberg and in Freiburg, who was actually the first German major city to declare a kind of lockdown. We see that local responses are needed, and they are trying to take in the local conditions, reflecting on local conditions and local needs of people and also situations, framework conditions, and so on. So here, I think that is once more worth to emphasize that local action can actually embedded in regional consideration, transnational efforts are extremely important and should be listened to. and there should be a mandate and flexibility also for local elected leaders to move as they are close to their citizens. Then I believe we are listening, if not for the first time. It seems to be truly remarkable milestone in terms of listening to science. In terms of its variety, but especially concerning science and healthcare, protection, emergency, but also societal science. So here I do try to make the parallel with the climate crisis or air pollution or other elements also related to health and science, and constant actually information available about what is coming and what is predicted based on modules which we are using nowadays as well. But for the first time, I believe that here politicians are extremely closely looking at science and are taking their advice extremely seriously. And I hope that this will translate also into future policies, into current policies, which we are discussing. So meaning the Climate Act, the recovery plans, and so on. So I believe that this pandemic has demonstrated when pressing society and political decision makers that they can respond with urgency and also with coherence with consensus, political consensus across different parties, because they see this bigger aim and necessity for everyone to be part of it. And then I believe there are other considerations, like with the coronavirus, we are able also to see some systemic social and economic inequalities now surfacing up again, and that relates potentially to the housing situations. So how many square meters, how do we live in? But it also relates to important infrastructure, certain infrastructure and services, which are sometimes in the past potentially have hardly been noticed or are not well paid, are now seen with a different eyes nowadays. So cleaning of rooms of our infrastructure, or just supermarkets or other healthcare. So there are several aspects which come here into place. And one last aspect which relate to your second question here already, homes, I believe, are also in the center of should be in the center also of our consideration. How do we live? Where do we live? Are we close to nature? Can we have that kind of breath and connection to nature? Because I think one reflection that everybody is likely to have concluded, to be closer to nature, to get their mind free and take a walk in the park or in the woods. So that relates to where houses are built, how they are built, how much spaces are in between them, and so on.
Yeah, Carsten, you brought up very, very important points. And I really would like to echo what you just mentioned, that these pandemic made us reflect on situations that were not so evident before. And it is even more important for organizations such as ICLEI that takes into consideration the overall complexity of a city to reframe also the steps that need to be taken. Of course, we were not ready for addressing this issue because, of course, when we were thinking about sustainability, about the resiliency in city, we were not ready to confront with the situation, right? But I strongly believe that all these reflections somehow needs to be, first of all, digested, as you mentioned, and then it needs to require a very prompt pivotal change in a way we are considering and designing also policy in our cities for living, for transportation, and new way of living indeed. So I'm thinking to what you said before, for instance, people living in the city or people living outside in the outskirts. Maybe there are people that have like a second property in the outskirts of a city, and now maybe they're thinking, oh, should I renovate that second house because I can stay there in case of the next lockdown will come. I would rather stay in close to nature, so maybe they could renovate the second house, right? So can you comment in your opinion on this indeed implication of the pandemic for the European renovation wave, and how can we really drastically increase the levels of deep renovation in Europe, leveraging on this crisis or somehow in this new situation and moving forward in Europe?
Yeah. So first of all, I believe that in December 2019, European leaders announced that Europe would adopt a net zero emission target for 2050. And by that, the European Green Deal was announced and established. And of course, buildings as generating 36% of carbon emission and consuming 40% of energy in Europe. This needs to be core of the initiative that is to be set. So the European renovation wave is very much welcome from ICLEI's perspective, and we are now looking forward to participate in breathing life into the European Climate Pact, which is related to that, or meaning that the European renovation wave is one of the core pillars in that regard. At the same time, we can also see already now with the announcements of the IMF or also Germany, the German government recently with their spring scenarios and economic developments, that the economic activities in Europe will drastically go down, decrease in European terms by 7.1, in Germany by 6% and or 6.5%. So that is also to be considered. At the same time, I believe that looking at renovation, we can experience multiple benefits in indeed making our buildings more energy efficient, and therefore investments would trigger in creating local jobs, help public finance in the long run, maybe not in the short run, because there much upfront investment is needed, but also it improves the quality of life of the dwellers, and I believe an important part in this situation, it also stimulates economic stability, which many sectors and the entire economy is actually looking forward to. So that are major points which I believe make the renovation wave so important, also to be discussed at core in moving forward with this crisis and handling the crisis.
Yeah, indeed. And taking into consideration, of course, this crisis, specifically from a local government perspective, what are, in your opinion, the main barriers that are still hindering the development of more affordable, attractive and acceptable home renovations?
Yeah, I would like even to take it broader, the question, but then come to the renovation aspect again. I believe that from the local government perspective or the local perspective, we could observe that maybe 2 decades ago there was a huge bottom-up push for sustainable energy and the energy transition, and then some years came where this was tried to be slowed down because the more centralized energy supply was threatened. Their business model was just simply threatened. I believe in today's from today's perspective and from the perspective of trying to bring the entire economy back to speed, here once again I would advocate for a decentralized energy transition as a response, because that would similarly to the renovation would mean exactly that we in all kinds of parts throughout the entire country, and not just concentrated regions, but throughout the entire country, we would stimulate local value chains. We would stimulate local job creation. And in the end, it is also the possibility to mobilize as many actors as possible to implement the energy transition as fast as possible. So in that sense, I think that the European Green Deal need to look into very much a decentralized and local approach here. It also means that we would need to potentially protect SMEs that are working in the renewable energy sectors, but are now facing difficulties. So the question is also how to help them. Construction companies, but also renewable energy and other energy efficiency actors in the field. And one response could be like as I said, the German government is now also investing into the building sector and retrofitting of buildings. The KfW, the public German bank that is has the mandate to do so, has increased its funding rates for household building level renovation from 20 to 45% of total cost covered. So these are indications which are important. And now coming back again towards the barriers, I believe that as well, looking at the current influx of finance in municipalities, it's clearly evident that there is already millions that are not as foreseen going into the public budgets of local governments. So there is a constrained budget situation. Several municipalities have already declared budget freezes, so no investments and only strategic investments will be done. And here again, the importance of the national governments and the EIB, for instance, are important to be mentioned in this relation of home refurbishment.
Yeah, it's a very complex framework we need to take into consideration, of course. And having taken this interview a month ago or 2 months ago would have, of course, provided a very different perspective. But that's the reason why having this focus is so important right now. But I would like to narrow down the discussion a little bit more to the TripleA-reno project. So this Horizon 2020 project, we are together cooperating in. What does this project specifically mean for ICLEI as an organization and the members that ICLEI is representing, of course, in this revised context? And what is, in your opinion, the added value that also TripleA-reno can bring to support the re-emergency of the renovation wave in Europe?
I think that TripleAreno brings two aspects here into play. One is the social innovation, which is needed, and I will explain quickly why. And then also the technological solutions are valued, which play a key role in scaling up the renovation activities in our cities. There are studies like the Heat Roadmap Europe study that found that with existing technologies, we are able to decarbonize our entire energy system up to 86% with existing technologies available. And especially looking at district heatings in cities, but also heat pumps in rural areas. So with certain emphasis and certain certain considerations here, but that indicates that we are facing rather an organizational challenge and a social challenge in the sense of organizing ourselves, our common way of interacting, of doing things, of how to renovate, how to refurbish a building, but also connecting it to the district level, the interaction of buildings, of the entire energy system, that needs to be considered and now put forward. And here we can use tools, innovative tools like Thermos, so a software that looks at planning, the optimizing thermal resources on a building and district level. And we should look at TripleAreno from the perspective that here we have a platform that can be quite local in its action, and local actors can be part of that and gain knowledge, confidence, and therefore also the ability to accelerate the renovation within a certain area. So tools like Thermos and TripleAreno are needed indeed, and seen from ICLEI's perspective and the perspective of our members are very much needed to go forward with the renovation.
Can you help us understand and maybe tell us a little bit more about the specific role that ICLEI has within TripleAreno? So we mentioned you're representing one of our umbrella association, but I'd like you to extend a little bit more on the concept of your role and the contribution that you are making to this project.
Yeah, thank you. Well, ICLEI is a city network. It connects cities with its peers and advocates for sustainable urban development in a variety of areas. Further, it is deeply embedded in related international policy processes to give cities a voice, advocate on their behalf. Our involvement in projects such as TripleAreno allows our organization, but also our members, to accumulate the knowledge and develop or refine practical solutions and disseminate these then further within the municipality, within different departments, but also broader throughout Europe and even beyond, as we are a global network. So we are building on our established networks of local decision makers and practitioners, and have here in TripleAreno also the central predominant role on the side of dissemination, advocacy, as we are also involved in the policy recommendations in the project, and look forward to this dialogue with our members, with municipalities, but also then with expert partners of the renovation community, one can say.
Yeah, and of course we know that what we promised to do with local municipalities somehow needs to be redesigned. So we think about communication, dissemination, and of course we know that we can rely on this even more growing role of digitalization. As a matter of fact, TripleAreno will develop a platform. So with this platform, we really hope to be able to reach out and to show how these digital tools can support somehow the awareness, the understanding, the attractiveness of home renovations going forward. What important contribution do you think the TripleAreno project and the tools that we are developing, such as the TripleAreno Wizard, the platform, can support the way we renovate homes in the future? Do you foresee that one day we could design our renovation just through platforms and connecting with practitioners somewhere in our local network, remotely, just sitting on our couch?
I believe this is possible. To answer this, I believe that already now one is able to, through the digitalization and through platforms such as TripleAreno, which is very specific, looking into also being able to look into a very local set of expertise and bringing here different components together. That this is happening. Everybody does its research, I believe, when buying or procuring, in the sense of a city, certain products or services, to be informed before making the decision. And of course, the internet is then a wonderful mean to bring that. And TripleAreno, in that sense, is contributing to make informed decisions by offering further aspects, further options to be considered, and that is the beauty of TripleAreno.
Yeah. And indeed, we're now in a phase of developing in the more operational part these tools, and we really hope that towards the end of the project we'll be able to deliver these tools. But again, not only because of the Horizon 2020 promises, but also to support Europe and European small medium enterprises and entrepreneurs in the renovation market to really have innovative solutions and sustainable development in general. What are your hopes for TripleAreno specifically when it comes to moving from research to market uptake in Europe?
Yeah, we as ICLEI, we try to actually indeed connect these fields as we truly observe science as a valuable and strategic component of our work, and we build our advocacy on top of scientific studies. But of course, we need to translate this into then practical work of how municipalities are working, are operating. And this is the kind of brokerage and matchmaking of information, matchmaking of actors to come together, but also translating knowledge into an understanding which is understandable and can be taken up much quicker and easier, because it speaks the same language. So these are elements which we do provide as ICLEI, and here this is the hope, but this is not only the hope, but actually the belief and our task as ICLEI within TripleAreno, that this is also happening with the results that the project is producing here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had very high hopes before, but in this change time, I think we really need to reframe the scope of also these platforms, these type of platforms, and TripleAreno specifically. So I really thank you for this interview. I think you really touched upon very, very timely and important aspects of the way we're living our cities, the role of networks of stakeholders at the community level, at the local level, and how we can reframe our community, supported by technology, but also supported by advocacy by high-level organizations like ICLEI. So this video will be uploaded on our TripleAreno YouTube channel. I believe is going to be also broadcasted and publicized on the ICLEI website. So of course, for more information, TripleAreno website is also available, and we really hope to be able to deliver a roadshow with ICLEI, with the municipality again very soon. And yeah, in the meantime, really thank you, Carsten, for this interview.
Well, thank you very much.